Hello, and this is Delia again, and I'm reading the Struggle, Vampire Diaries, and we're on chapter 9, and this is part 8. You just leave it to me, Caroline. Caroline's voice dropped in a throaty murmur. Convince me. After a pause, Tyler's chuckled. There was movement, rustling sounds, a sigh. Elena turned and slipped out of the room as quietly as she had come in. She got into the next hallway, and then she leaned against the lockers there, trying to think. It was almost too much to absorb at once. Caroline, who had once been her best friend, had betrayed her and wanted to see her humiliated in front of the whole school. Tyler, who'd always seemed more annoying jerk than a real threat, was planning to get Stefan driven out of town or killed. And the worst thing was that they were using Elena's own diary to do it. Now she understood the beginning of her dream last night. She'd had a dream like it the day before she had discovered that Stefan was missing. In both, Stefan had looked at her with angry, accusing eyes, and then he had thrown a book at her feet and walked away. Not a book, her diary, which had in it evidence that could be deadly to Stefan. 3 times people in Phil's church had been attacked, and 3 times Stefan had been on the scene. What would that look like to the town, to the police? And there was no way to tell the truth. Supposing, she said, Stefan isn't guilty. It's his brother, Damon, who hates him and who knows how much Stefan hates even the thought of hurting and killing, and who followed Stefan around and attacked people to make Stefan think maybe Stefan had done it, to drive him mad, and who's here in town somewhere. Look for him in the cemetery or in the woods. But, oh, by the way, don't just search for a good-looking guy because he might be a crow at the moment. Incidentally, he's a vampire. She didn't even believe it herself. It sounded ludicrous. I don't know how to say that. Ludicrous, I think. A twinge from the side of her neck reminded her how serious the ludicrous story really was. She felt odd today, almost as if she were sick. It was more than just tension and lack of sleep. She felt slightly dizzy, and at times the ground seemed to be spongy, giving way under her feet and then springing back. Flu symptoms, except that she was sure they weren't due to any virus in her bloodstream. Damon's fault again. Everything was Damon's fault, except the diary. She had no one to blame for that but herself. If only she had written about Stefan. If only she hadn't written about Stefan. If only she had brought the diary to school. If only she hadn't left it in Bonnie's living room. If only, if only. Right now, all that mattered was that she had to get it back. And now we're on to 10, and I'll do that another day. Take care, and I'll be back.